This is Kerr. This is Mark Kerr. Yep.
Wow.
This is Mark Kerr when he was a normal size.
Yeah.
Mark Kerr went on to fight in the UFC and went on to fight in Pride. Oh my God!
Oh, the Smashing Machine.
When he was the Smashing Machine,
Yeah.
yeah. That documentary is insane. Have you seen that?
Yeah, I
the
did.
documentary on Kerr.
Yeah, I did.
Mark Kerr submitted Dan Bobish in the UFC. I was there for this fight. He got on top of him and he stuck his chin in Bobish's eye socket.
Oh.
Grabbed the back of his head and drove his fucking chin into his
And
eye
he has
socket.
this pointy chin too, man.
And he was just a giant of a man.
He is.
Show Mark Kerr in his prime. I mean, his trap started at the top of his ears.
I know. He was an animal.
He was so fucking huge.
He got, listen, by the time 96 came around, he didn't look like that anymore. He was like 250, and he wasn't that
then.
big. He wasn't
Look
that
at
big.
the size of him,
Gosh,
bro.
dang, you got to be 300 pounds there.
He was a monster. Yeah. He was a monster. And then he was a monster in Pride. He was such a machine.
Yeah.
But he's another guy who fell victim to pain pills.
Yes, he did.
And what's crazy about that documentary, The Smashing Machine, is they caught him in his prime, and what they were documenting in that documentary was a guy who was like this unstoppable force. Mm-hmm. They didn't know that he was at the verge of collapse. They didn't know that he was in the middle of this pain
they were
addiction.
just doing the documentary because of how dominant he
Yes.
was. Wow.
Yes. The documentary originally was just about this guy who's this unstoppable force who was competing in Japan in the height of Pride. In the height of Pride, they were doing this like Japan is so different. When we had the UFC in Japan, they're so knowledgeable and so respectful. It's such a part of the culture that, you know, the matches were huge. They did the Saitama Super Arena. It was 90,000 people. Wow. And that was when Kerr was in his prime. Yeah. So what they were documenting was this guy from America, this insane wrestler, this gigantic man that they call the Smashing Machine, going over there and dominating. And they caught him right when it was all falling apart.
Oh, and then that's where the story changed, right?
Yes, yeah. And that's the documentary. Wow. And it is about pain pills. It's about pain medication. I mean, I think he was on a bunch of different things. But it was just dealing with the constant
He was
injuries.
the most talented individual I've ever stepped on the mat with. I mean, he was really good.
Really?
Really good, yeah. Yeah, he won the NCAAs at 190 my senior year. I won at heavyweight. And then he moved up to my weight class.
Wow.
Yeah. He just kept getting bigger and bigger. I mean, yeah, he won the NCAAs at 190 my senior year. I won at heavyweight. And then he moved up to my weight class.
Wow.
Yeah. He just kept getting bigger and bigger. I mean,
yeah.
Kid's 6'4", so he had a lot of range, you know,
yeah.
long arms, and you knew he could fill in. I didn't know he was going to end up being 310 pounds. So.
Yeah, and then back then, you know, if you were either going to go into pro wrestling or you were going to go into MMA,
Mm-hmm.
and back then in MMA, like Mark was competing in the early days of bare knuckle.
Yeah.
You bare knuckle, wearing wrestling shoes, and Coleman as well, with headbutts.
Yeah.
That was the other thing back then.
Yeah, they were legal.
Yeah, headbutts were legal. I wonder if you could still do that eye socket move. I don't even know if that's illegal. I've never seen anybody do that since. See if you can find that. Mark Kerr submits Dan Bobish.
Did he submit him with it?
Yes.
Oh, he tapped him.
Yes. Oh, yeah. He tapped him with a fucking chin to the eye socket. By the way, Bobish was fucking huge, too.
Right.
Bobish was a giant of a man. So for him to do that to Bobish, but, you know, Bobish is just not that level of wrestler.
Right.
When you get that big, I mean, there's big, and then there's that big, but also talented.
Right.
And that was Mark Kerr. That big.
He had like a head arm and drove his chin in.
I want to say he mounted him. I think he mounted him. So here he is. No, side control. So he got on top of him, shoved his chin in his eye socket, and just fucking drove it in there and tapped him.
Oh, my God.
I mean, the guy's in fucking agony.
Wow.
And you look at the size of Bobish. Bobish is fucking huge,
He's
too.
selling his eye, too.
Look at Kerr. Jesus Christ.
Oh, he does have a scary chin.
Yeah, he just shoved that thing right in his eye socket.
Wow.
I don't think anyone's ever done that since.
The Leno choke.
God.
The Leno choke. It wasn't a choke,
Watching
man.
him, I lost a lot
Look
of
at
sleep
this.
over this guy.
Look at this.
He jumped across to get more freedom of movement. Bobish readjusts, he's tapping out.
That's it. Now we've got a champion in Mark Kerr.
Look at that. Early days. So I guess he was wearing gloves in this one. But when he started, he definitely was in the no glove stage.
Who started first,